Time to turn the focus to Navy swimming right now as Bill Roberts' club coming off of a very close meet with the Princeton Tigers with Ryan Waters. And you guys look inside your league, you all know the standard you all have set yourselves inside the league.
Definitely.
But when you all have an LSU come to your pool, you guys go up to Princeton and swim a tremendous meet on Saturday, even though you came up 3 points short in the team score. But it's tremendous swimming. It's great stuff. How much do those types of meets help you all stay sharp to make sure that the standard, especially that you set in the league, doesn't slip at all?
I mean, we really believe that those meets, those LSUs, those Princetons, even this weekend we got UNC and Penn State coming. Those are the meets that we really like to perform our best in regardless of the score. Just because with those more competitive teams, especially the ones who get ranked in the top 25 at the end of the season, we really see those as like opportunities to prove ourselves. Because right now the standard is kind of we have to beat Army and we have to win our conference. But we'd like to see what more we can do aside from just those two things.
I was going to say, too, in those events, you're swimming against a lot of potential Olympic time swimmers, things of that nature. Obviously, you all develop several swimmers that end up with Olympic trial times and things of that nature. But how often is it swimming against the opponent as opposed to swimming against the clock?
Well, I mean, so like when you look at a meet like Patriots, we are really looking to fill the final heats in a meet like that. Like when we have the A final, it's not uncommon that of all the teams in our conference in the A final, we have 4 out of the 8 swimmers. So we definitely like it when the really strong competition comes in from out of our conference that we really only see once a year, just because the shift can really be focused into beating the person next to us and really worrying about the score, because at the end of the day, tough competition is something we welcome, something we want, and something that can kind of take our program to the next level.
I love talking to swimmers about this in particular and other athletes that compete in individual events where you can swim your best time. You can have a lifetime best in the pool that day. Somebody might be better and beat you that day. Do you come away with going, I swam my best time, or do you come away with going, man, I finished second or I finished third, even though you may have swam your best individual time or leg in a relay as you've competed in and stuff? How do you balance frustration of maybe not necessarily winning, but having done your best that particular day, and maybe there was not much more effort you could have given on that occasion?
Yeah, so how we see it, especially in a meet like last weekend, it's such a close meet, that's when it's going to be all about touching out the guy next to you, getting as many points as you can. But then as you kind of get towards the end of the season, you get to Patriots, you get to ECACs, whatever your final meet is, or hopefully NCAAs or Olympic trials, that's when it more becomes about what time you're going to go. That's when it more becomes about PRs and things of that nature. But definitely for those in-season meets, although your times are important, personally, and I think the team would agree with me, it's more about getting to the wall first. And it doesn't matter if it's you getting first or another Navy cap getting first. It's really just about getting those points.
When you were being recruited, obviously you saw the standard and the history of what Navy swimming has been all about. What made you feel like I'm up to that challenge to try and continue that great tradition that has been set by many of the people that have come before you?
Yeah, so I mean, if you even just look at our records, the accomplishments of even the past decade, you can tell that there's just a culture here of a good swim team. There's not really that many up years or down years. It's just consistent improvement, consistently sending guys to big meets. And Coach Roberts, who's been a part of the program for several years, that's something that he does really well, I think. I think he shows the recruits, like, this is something that's going to be greater than yourself. You're not coming here just for yourself. And I think that that's something that I saw and really inspired me and made me want to swim in college, and specifically the Naval Academy as opposed to any other program.
How big of an adjustment was it from the events you swam in high school, obviously competing all 4 years there, winning state championships in New Jersey, to what you were asked to come into last year as a plebe right away, and at least you found ways to contribute? Like I said, relay, 16:51 day. I mean, what kind of an adjustment was that from high school to college?
It was pretty tough. So, like, for example, I trained a little bit shorter distance in high school. It was a little bit more of a 200, 500 freestyle that would kind of range up to the mile. And as I've kind of developed into a swimmer here, I've focused a little bit more on the longer distance events. And probably the most difficult adjustment for me was having to do the 1,000 on almost like a week by week basis.
Right, sure.
Because in high school, that's like, a taper event. You're going to swim it once or twice a year. And doing it 2 or even sometimes 3 back-to-back weekends, that's something that as you grow older, you just need to realize you have to do. You got to get tough enough for it. But I couldn't be more happy with it. I enjoy those events. I like the distance group, the guys that we train with.
I was going to say too, I mean, what is the competition? And I ask the swimmers this all the time, and it's interesting to get everybody's outlook on this, but the competition in your own pool every day, in some cases, may be better than some of the competition you see in meets at times. How much of that is a motivating factor, knowing that every person you train with, in many cases, is capable of doing the exact same thing you do if you're not living up to that standard?
Yeah, I mean, just off the bat, I can't name a team that has a more deep distance program than we do. If you go to a lot of schools, even top 10 schools in the country, they have 1 or 2 and probably not even 3 very good distance swimmers, just because by the nature of the sport, you need more sprinters on a team. And for me, training-wise, it is absolutely amazing that I have so many guys to train with. And we're really like our own group. We have like, a dozen of us or so that all prepare for those events. And it just makes, 20 hours a week a whole lot better. Especially it's really nice seeing at swim meets when sometimes we'll go 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4.
Yeah, sure.
Or something like that. And you can look around and see, people with the same cap doing really well.
What's the biggest challenge on these long distance events? Is it more mental than it is physical, or is it an equal amount of both?
It's probably an equal amount both. But the thing is, if you're physically prepared, then it becomes all mental. Like you can be, as mentally tough as you want, but if you didn't prepare for the past several months, then, it doesn't matter how tough you are.
Right. Physically, is there a rhythm to it?
Yes, there's definitely a rhythm to it. Any event, really the 500 and up, I think it's a lot of clockwork, like learning how to turn your brain just into a clock. And then just knowing that kind of feeling when you're doing the 1,000, you get to that 700 mark. If you aren't comfortable in that feeling, you're going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So it's really about that day-to-day training of knowing that that's going to feel like it and seeing it coming. And when it happens, just being prepared enough to not be able to, to not have to back off or anything like that and finish the race tough.
You've been through it twice now. What have the Army meets been like, especially in your own pool where the crowd is just such an unbelievable lift, I would have to imagine, swimming in one of the greatest pools in the country?
Yeah, so that's probably, if I had to look back at meets that I've been to my whole life, Army-Navy has to be one of my favorite ones. It's really awesome to me that it's a dual meet. When people think of like big important meets and stuff like that, it's usually big invitationals.
Sure.
And you don't really you don't get a huge crowd because, it could be 10 teams there or whatever. I remember specifically my plebe year, I was in the first individual event, which was 1,000, and just looking behind me and seeing like every seat packed, people standing in the aisle screaming. It was just an absolutely unreal experience.
Yeah. All right, great stuff. Continued success in the pool with you and your teammates.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, Ryan Waters joining us here on the Navy Sports Magazine.